Thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring this video.
Welcome to another episode of I Found It on Eventbrite.
That's it. That's my intro.
Hey, I'm Amanda, you're watching Swell Entertainment, and today we are talking about Dessert Wars, or the Las Vegas event for Dessert Wars, which was the first of eight events, I believe. Okay, technically not wrong. There's 8 qualifiers, and then the national championship is technically also in Atlanta, so it's technically 9. But the qualifiers there's 8 of them. So technically, I'm not wrong. Okay. Vegas was the first event for the Dessert Wars competition/festival, and I went. According to the website, Dessert Wars is the largest festival in America, and allegedly there is a show covering this, like a temporary show or something about it. I've never heard of it. I found this on Eventbrite. The way I found a lot of events for the start of this year was Eventbrite. And I saw that it was happening in Vegas, and I saw that it was, quote, the largest dessert festival in America. And so I said, I need to be there.
But really quick, let me tell you about their sponsor for today's video, Squarespace. After owning the domain since 2015, I have finally set up the Swell Entertainment website, powered by Squarespace, which gives you a beautiful and powerful online platform for which to create your website. You can connect with your audience, generate revenue through gated members-only content, manage your members and email communications, and leverage audience insights, all in one easy-to-use platform. Whether you want to engage with your communities, start blogging, upgrade your e-commerce, or just have a place to have all of your social media posts aggregated into one spot, Squarespace has the tools to help you out. Go to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/swellentertainment for 10% off your first purchase of a domain or a website. Thank you again to Squarespace for sponsoring this video.
I thought I was going crazy, okay? Because I booked 2 nights in Vegas because I thought this event was the 18th and the 19th of March, okay? So I booked 2 nights in Vegas. The 18th and the 19th, flying out on the 20th, which is today. And I was like, okay, I booked that. I booked the flights. It must have been 2 days at one point, because I looked in my calendar as well, and it said I had it for the 18th and the 19th. But then all of the marketing, all of the website, the ticket, all of it just says the 18th. So I thought I was going crazy. But then I checked my original Eventbrite receipt, my order confirmation, and it was 2 days. It says 18th and 19th. So I wasn't crazy. Something just got changed. I'm assuming it was always only supposed to be 1 day, and that was a mistake at some point, and then they corrected it. I don't know. But I totally thought it was supposed to be 2 days, and that's why I was in Vegas for the whole weekend versus just 1 night and then flying out the next day. I got the VIP entry, and I bought that on January 27th of this year, and it cost me $70.46. As I mentioned previously, I usually get VIP for these events so I can review as much as possible and cover as much as possible. Now, VIP, it seems like the only perk that I was really supposed to get was that I was able to access the floor an hour early. That is important, because that was a point of contention for a lot of people. So I flew in that Saturday morning, went and got coffee with my friend Macy, who lives out there, and she was like, hey, well, let me just drive you to like the event center, okay? I was like, okay, I'll get in line an hour early so I can get in, because I had made plans for that night and I had to leave by 5. Because again, I thought this was a 2-day event. I think I got more than enough content for you guys. I think I covered more than enough. So the event itself was always at the same location. It was the expo at the World Market Center in downtown. So after coffee, Macy takes me to the expo. And first, the parking lot's blocked off. Like completely, like the beams are up. There is no one around. Just all blocked off. And there is nobody there, not a single person that we could see. And Macy was like, I don't feel safe dropping you off down here. And I was like, I don't blame you. So she ended up dropping me off across the street, because I was like, everything says it's here. Nothing else says it was canceled. And if it was canceled, I have to be here anyway, because that's content. I told her I would message her once I got inside so that she knew I hadn't been abducted, but we were good. So I just go and sit on the benches outside the expo, because I saw people going inside, but there wasn't a ton of people going inside, and they were clearly holding stuff. So I'm like, okay, they're clearly either vendors, the bakery people, employees, what have you. So I was like, okay, cool. So probably not any attendees yet. I need to make it very clear to you, there is no signage of any kind. 0, zip, nada, nothing to imply that there is an event happening on this day on the outside exterior. I know that's the same thing. I'm trying to really drive this point home. There was nothing. And the parking lot's blocked off, which implies do not come here. No bueno, you know? That's what that implies. No sign, no nothing, no arrows, no parking that way, none of that. So I go over there and I just sit there on the bench outside for about 30 minutes, just trying to see if anyone's gonna come by, maybe. Maybe a crowd will pop up, maybe they'll prop the doors open, I don't know, something. As I'm sitting there, I see multiple cars try and pull into the parking lot, stop, get confused, and then turn around and leave. And I'm thinking, okay, maybe I'm not the only one who thinks this is weird. And then finally I saw a group of people that were like there was like a couple with like a child and then like a couple of people. And I was like, okay, probably also attendees. I'll follow them in. It was like 2:30 at the time. We walk inside, and inside there are some signs in the hallway area. There were a couple of people kind of milling around, and then eventually some people in black dessert wear shirts came out. Security, I don't know. Were they also in the same exact shirts? Because if not, I could not distinguish them from anyone else. There was a VIP line and a GA line. GA got in at 4, VIP got in at 3. We were just kind of all hanging around in the hallway, and then eventually we got into some semblance of a line as we were closing in on 3, and then 3 comes. Then 3:05, 3:10, talking to the people around me. People behind me are getting annoyed because the point of VIP is you're paying to get in early. So at 3:30, 3:45, getting in before the rest of general admission is kind of useless when you only have 15 minutes to get through what has been billed as the world's largest dessert festival. So finally someone in a dessert war shirt came up, and the couple in front of me, the woman in front of me, was like, hey, what's going on? Is everything okay? Like, why is it taking so long? And she says, there's only 3 of us scanning tickets. That's why. But I can scan your ticket. So she scanned theirs and scanned mine and then said, you guys can go ahead and go on in. So we were told to cut everyone that was in front of us in line to go inside. I was like, I'm on a time crunch. Okay. So I start walking, but then I'm stopped behind a woman with a walker. Okay, an older woman. She stops the person, a different man in a dessert war shirt. And she says, you work here? He goes, yes. And she says, who do I have to complain to? I paid extra to get in early. Why are we not inside yet? She's pissed. What is going on? He's like, well, the health inspector, different. No, the health inspector we were having some issues with. So we're just getting that all taken care of so we can get you all in line. And then someone else moved, so I just kind of moved around her and went inside. I was then handed a plastic takeout container with a bunch of tickets and a coin inside, a wooden coin. I was told nothing else. I was told have fun. Giant event center. Massive. We will talk about that more in a moment. So I go right counterclockwise, because why not? Is that counterclockwise? Yes, counterclockwise. I'm dyslexic. Anyways, so I go to the first booth, and they're trying to explain candy-coated popcorn, all this stuff to me. And I was like, cool. Do you know how this works? Because no one told me anything. She was like, oh, okay, yeah. So basically, you have the tickets. If you want to try something, you give us the ticket, and we give you one item from like the table, basically, that you want. And then once you're done, you go over there and you take your coin and you vote. And that's the fan voting, or like the fan favorite vote or whatever. The containers are to like basically gather all of our treats that we're getting, the samples and things like that. She recommended that I go around because she was like, you only have so many tickets. So I recommend like going around and picking out what you would like first and then coming back around. I am fairly certain I hit almost every single booth for one item. I probably missed maybe 10 of everything that was there. And I still had so many tickets. So when I left, I had made friends and I just put them on the table. I said, please use these, give them to the children that are running around, whatever. I gotta go. And there's no way I'm gonna be able to use all these. And I feel like I'm gonna explode from a sugar coma. I should have counted the tickets, but I did not. And I didn't really get the chance to because I was just juggling so much. All in all, first note, well, I've given several notes. Marketing, non-existent, outside the building. No updates other than hi, your event's coming up. And that's from Eventbrite. That's not from Dessert Wars. Some form of information. Hey, here's what to expect. Here's how to plan ahead. If you're going to give us no information day of, you might as well give us like a little email with like a summary of what to expect at an event like this, especially since this is like an official festival, that type of thing. No marketing outside. People didn't, I thought the event was canceled, frankly. And then also the to-go containers. tiny. Like, you're expecting us all to be juggling. People were pissed about these. People were complaining. Like, I ended up doing 3 or 4 trips trying to stack stuff in. I was carrying stuff. I saw one guy who had one of those big, like, Costco cardboard, like, tray things. He had apparently gone to a booth and been like, hi, are you going to use that? They said, no, we're done with it. We're running out of, we're using it. We had used it for samples. So he started using that and was just carrying around that. He had to go and haggle with someone to get it. I agree, that's alarming. You all can say thank you to William because he usually edits those out when I make jokes about that's alarming, because I make that joke quite a lot. The containers were just all around too small, especially with what some people were saying, like, listen, we paid this much money to get in. And the whole shtick is like, oh, it's one fee to get in. So like once you pay, you don't have to pay inside. So again, you get your tickets and that's your currency basically inside this building. But especially since the fact that there were not nearly enough tables for the event itself, let alone the event center size, this event looked empty compared to the amount of space that was there and the amount of people that was there, which tells me that you could have had more tables. I don't know what the deal was. You guys definitely made bank from this event. We'll talk more about that in a second. So you could have had more tables. I went to as many booths as I possibly could. Now, normally with desserts, I am a chocolate girly, okay? I am a chocolate girly. I like cheesecake. I like a lot. But anyways, I mainly like chocolate, but if someone at the table would be like, hey, we have this, we recommend this, I would get that usually. A few flavor themes that I noticed quite a bit. Churro, very popular flavor that I was seeing in a lot of different of the bakeries. Strawberry/strawberry shortcake, very popular. And also salted caramel. That was also very popular that I was seeing quite a bit. A few things that had bacon in them, but not a ton enough where I'm like, that is a trend that I was seeing. Here are some of the companies that I went by just to give them a little shout out. Penny Cakes Las Vegas, Zoe Bakes, Giselia's Bakery, Donut Franchise, Celebrate Nutrition. I believe they were the ones that had the protein donut that tasted interesting. I don't know if I would call it good, but it wasn't horrible. Like I have footage of me trying all this stuff for the most part. So Cake and Cocoa Gourmet Pastries is who ended up getting my vote for a couple of different reasons. One, nothing for the most part at this event surprised me. There was nothing that I ate where I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. This is not what I was expected. There was a few times where I was very excited for something and I bit into it and then I was like, ugh, this is not good. But the only place that I tried something where I was genuinely surprised by what I tasted was Cake and Cocoa. It was an Armenian pastry that they had, and that was just delicious. It was like cinnamony, it was light, it was airy, it was like not super buttery, but it was like just, it was good, you know? It was, it's almost hard to explain, but it was just delicious, and I was genuinely like, oh, like pleasantly surprised when I bit into it, and that did not happen for most of the other things that I ate at this event. Also, the people working the table, very sweet, very classy. Also, they were giving out mugs, full-size mugs with their pastries, almost as business cards, even though they also had business cards, which I had grabbed a business card, and then they were like, oh, here you go, and like gave me the mug. So this is brilliant because so many of these end up blurring together with that many vendors in one spot. So it's doing something like this to stand out aside from just your pastry itself, obviously, because I'm sure there are people who are like, well, my food speaks for itself. But at a certain point, if you're second out of 50, you may not be that memorable, but everyone's going to, what was that? Everyone's always going to remember the people who gave them a full-size mug because you're juggling it the whole time. They also said you could not bring bags inside the event, apparently, which I just had my little purse thing, which I couldn't fit anything in to begin with. But they didn't have security, so I don't think they would have stopped you if you had like a plastic bag in your bag. Someone could have brought a machine gun probably, and they wouldn't have stopped you because there wasn't even security. Where was it? You know? So there was that. There was also Vintage Sweets Bakery. I tried to also get clips of the tables where if they didn't have business cards or I didn't get the chance to grab one, I tried to get footage. So that'll all be in the B-roll. Also in the event center, they had, when you first walked in, like kind of like a little Dessert Wars display with real cookies on it, from what I could tell. And then in the back, they had another one that had a throne with donuts around it, a big carnival-like sign that said Dessert Wars. They had a DJ going the entire time, so I don't know how much of the audios of the clips that I can play for you guys here. But the DJ, when I was taking a selfie for potentially the thumbnail face and all that stuff, the DJ was like posing with me. He thought it was fun. He was cool. I liked his vibes. There was a judges table because not only are we doing fan judging, there is also official judges who go around and judge everything. Top 3 winners of the People's Choice and Judges Championship in each city will automatically qualify for the national championship. So the top 3 winners of the People's Choice and Judges Championship in each city will automatically qualify. The national championship winners will be determined by the People's Choice and the Judges Championship in Atlanta on December 2nd. One winner from each category will receive $10,000. Then they had the whole panel where you would basically just put your little coin in your vote. Every single entry that was there, exhibitor that was there, got their own little spot. There were a few empty tables, and I'm assuming they just had some empties in case day of, like, do you want to be added in type of thing. But those tables did get crowded very quickly because, like I said, there was not enough standing tables or tall boys or whatever they're called. I think they're high tops, but people kept calling them tall boys while I was there. But I hear tall boys and I just think of like the 40-ounce tall boys because my parents an alcoholic. So those tables were being used by attendees to eat their food. There was another photo spot as well that had one of those 360 cameras. I did not stop and go and get that because I was just like juggling my food container with my tickets and everything. There was multiple times where I had one handful, another handful, and I was just like, hey, can you tear off a ticket? Because I would like to try one of your things. And so the people working there would have to tear off the tickets for me because I couldn't do everything myself because it was just awkward. The whole system was just very awkward. And I don't know how to make that any better other than maybe a bigger container so that you can balance more things on top of it, because the size it was, sure, it fits in your hand, but if you're also trying to tear off tickets with your other hand or hold other things, like it's very awkward. It didn't work. You should have had a full size, like, post-dinner takeout container that you could have had that was still the clear tops or whatever. And I'm wondering how much plastic went through because I don't know how many people were allowed to. I didn't leave with mine. I ate my samples and then I threw my container out. So I filled up my container, started filling up my container more, and then I found another one of the high tops and I was sitting alone and I was almost done. I was like eating through my second round. A guy comes up and is like, hey, do you mind if I do you mind if I share this table with you? And I'm like, yeah, sure. Perfect person to be talking to. Perfect person. I don't know how this keeps happening to me, but I find very nice people at these events, okay, who know their stuff. It's very nice. He definitely did not know who I was, so I want to make that clear. I did not know who he was either, but he apparently is a blogger and a Google reviewer, and he had opinions because he is also a baker. And so he was like the perfect person to talk to with this. That was Xander, and then I also met Patrick, and then there was a couple that I met and I forgot to write down your names, and so therefore I forgot your names. I'm very sorry. You guys, it was very brief. They were very nice though. He was telling me about how all of this works, the qualifications, things like that, and how much money they did. Now, this is where we got a little bit of miscommunication, and then we got some clarification from the actual vendors that were there. He thought that the reason they were taking the tickets, because like I said, we all got a certain amount of tickets and all of the tables that were taking the tickets were collecting them like in a bowl or something. He was like, I think they get money for that. Like they get like a few cents or something like that when they turn that in because they're spending hundreds, if not thousands of dollars to be here and vend. This place is making a ton of money. So I think if they can in those tickets, they get a certain amount of money. And I was like, God, how much is it though? Because it can't be enough to reimburse all the cost for, let's say, at least 1,500 samples that they have to make of their items for the amount of people that were going to be there, because VIP sold out and that was about 300 people apparently. And then general admission also sold out and that was $30. This was at least $70, if not more for some people, depending on when you bought your VIP tickets. The whole event was sold out. So the venue, all of that, because I think the vendors also had to do an entry fee, right? Let me put it this way. They made enough money on this event that they definitely should have been able to have a proper sign outside of the venue or something whatsoever, or better standing signs or something. I don't know, anything that would imply that an event was happening in this event center on this day of this event. The more you know. They were also selling merch at the event, But I did not buy any. I don't think anyone was buying it. The fact that they had a whole board behind them, they definitely should have had some of the shirts and stuff hung up like at a concert or something, because having it on the table like that just looked weird. And there were probably people who didn't want to go up and look because they were like, okay, well, let me see if it's good. And then if it's bad, then it's awkward because I just walked away from this woman who's sitting here at this table to sell the merch. And I didn't buy any merch, so it's awkward, you know? They also had a free milk table where you could go and get milk. I didn't see the milk table until after my first round, so I was like into my sugar high. It was happening. I was like, I'm gonna throw up, but I'm committed. We're gonna do this. But I was like, oh, milk, that'd be great. However, I barely drink regular milk. I drink unsweetened almond milk. I was like, gosh, I guess I'm just drinking dairy today. This will be fun. And then I got up there and they had a bunch of different types of milk, including almond milk. And it was unsweetened, I think, because it did not taste sweet whatsoever. So that was nice. So I got that. I wish they would have put up a sign that showed what types of milks they had, because there was a couple people that I was speaking to and they were like, yeah, but I don't drink dairy. And I was like, oh no, they have like almond milk and I think oat milk and like other stuff there as well. So they were like, oh, okay. And then went over. So I just think the milk table maybe should have been a little more like, we have non-dairy as well. I should also point out that a lot of the tables, they did have vegans and non-vegan items. Not all of them. Some of them were just like, yeah, no, we are not vegan. We are not gluten-free, you know, but some of them were disclosing like, yes, this is vegan, this is gluten-free, that type of thing. I went and talked to a couple of different people and I was like, oh, hey, like, are you guys getting compensated based on the tickets? And one girl was like, no, we don't get paid. I'm just keeping track of these for my boss so she knows how many like samples we gave out, which makes sense. And then I talked to another business owner as well, and she was like, no, we're just here for promotion more than anything. It's cool if we win, but if not, you know, promotion you guys hear about is that type of thing. But we're definitely not getting paid. And I was like, okay, then why are you holding out of this? And she was just like, because we're being handed them. And so I went and told Xander that. And he was like, oh, so they're not getting paid. Yeah, then they should have more tables. But Xander also put forward, because there was a bunch of kids and because there was a bunch of different people at this event, you know, kids, people my age. Some girls were dressed like they were going to EDM. There were some older people, obviously. It's like desserts. Everyone likes dessert. Different age groups. It was great. But he was like, yeah, you know, it would be nice to have like someone dressed like a giant cookie walking around, taking photos, you know, or an ice cream cone or something, a dessert war, something fun for the kids. And I said, look, they have cornhole, because they had cornhole set up. And he was like, and look, no one's playing it. Valid, true. No one was playing it. At a moment, there was a chair sitting there. Why? I don't know. But a kid was sitting there while on his phone, like an actual child. If you're not going to use the space for tables, you might as well do something else, you know? And I agree. Photos, encouraging people to post that they're there. If you weren't on the actual website for Dessert Wars, it's very hard to find any more information out about this. I was searching it on Twitter, I was searching it on Instagram, and I was only finding stuff from like 2-3 years ago and barely a few things where people were like, I'm excited for Dessert Wars. You know, that was it. Very little. Your marketing needs work. Xander in particular was talking about how it's like, you know, Food Network events are very like, just very professional, very sleek, all this stuff. And this just seems very like mid. He did not say mid. I'm saying mid, but that was the tone I was getting from him. Considering how much work all these people are going through to be there, something where they're a little bit more supported would be nice, like bigger containers, more tables for people to sit and enjoy, you know, that type of thing, which would support the bakers as well. The prize money going to them as well, obviously, if you won. So I was there for about an hour and a half, close to 2 hours in total from when I actually got inside the venue. It definitely filled up much more. It got so busy. There was a few where you could tell, okay, these are popular, but I don't know how many of them were gimmicky. I never actually ate the donuts. They had a big setup. Basically, it was a whole donut that they made and then they put Nutella on it. I did not actually eat it because when I was there, I kind of got a little turned off because they were filming something because they got to do it themselves, which I get, marketing, but also I was just like, I don't know. People already got in late and now you guys are making us wait 9,000 years for this. I'm gonna go. So I just kept walking. There was a few where like the line was not long whatsoever. The VIP was definitely worth it in that regards because then you get access to like what, if you're something that you think is going to be more popular, you get access to it earlier. So there was nothing where I never really waited long for most of the booths that I was at. It was just very quick once I did get the, please Tara, take it off for yourself. There were some things where I was like really looking forward to it, and then I tasted it and it was not good. Pretty much all the churro stuff was very good. A lot of the cookies, I'm assuming because a lot of them were very small cookies, that's why they were very dry. Xander also said that because some of the cookies were in the little slips of like plastic, it's like, oh yeah, these are just dry. This sucks out moisture, and then because they're not sealed perfectly, draws it all out. I don't know how true that is, but it sounded correct. I had a good time. It was definitely a fun experience, I think. But there's so many little tweaks that I think would just put this event over the line to like great, that I think they're easy tweaks to make, especially with the amount of money that you're definitely bringing in for this event. I just think a couple of the tweaks that I mentioned would just really put this event over the line and also just make things run a lot more smoothly, because especially, I don't know, I just feel like you obviously have a big turnout. You sold out the event. You can have more tables. It's just my point. Anyways, that's probably going to be it. Have you ever heard of Dessert Wars? You ever watched Dessert Wars on TV? Were you like my friends when I told them I was coming back to Vegas for a dessert festival? Were you jealous that I went to a dessert festival? The next event is April 22nd in Philadelphia. They also have events in Washington, D.C., Palm Beach, Charlotte, Miami, Tampa, and Atlanta. Do you have any plans to go to any future Dessert War events? Let me know. Comment down below. Reminder, I have a podcast, the Swell Shenanigans Podcast. Reminder, I have merch. It'll be on the merch shelf down below. Shout out to my Patreon. Thank you so much for supporting me on Patreon. If you'd also explore me on Patreon, the links down below. Just follow me on my social media. That'll be all up here. And that's going to be it. Have a lovely day. Goodbye. I don't regret leaving at 5. I do regret not getting the chance to talk to more of the exhibitors about what their setup process was, because even though we got in at like 3:15, there were still people who were still setting up and people who were struggling to get set up in time. So I really want to know what they were told going into the event, and I'm bummed I didn't get to talk to them about that. Thank you, Andrew, Alan, Cameron, Christopher, Chris B, Chris P, Crash PC, China, Dirty One, Don, Donnie, Elliot, Evan, Eric, Eal, Hopeless, Homer, Incognito, Isaiah, Jacare, Joe, John M, Jordan, Joseph, Kenny, Kim, Kristen, Lamb, Lex, Lisa, Luis, Mae West, Madeline, Matt, Matthew, Memlord, Mia, Michael, Michael J, Michael T, Micah, Nathaniel, Nocturnal, Pat, Penn, Richard, Rob, Red, Rosie, Red, Robert, Ross, Ryan, Sam, Serena, Skylar, Simon, Tasha, Timothy, Heavenly, Plastic, Tenzin, Tom, Thomas, Qwerty, Victor, Randy, Wendy, Winter, Will, Williams, Endries, Wink.